Deep in the forest of Huntersville, North Carolina, resides the Carolina Raptor Center, a hybrid animal hospital and public zoo dedicated to the environmental stewardship and conservation of birds of prey. Regardless of the prowess and strength of these magnificent creatures, more than 30 species of these wild birds are considered endangered or critically endangered. Through the dedication of their employees and volunteers, the Carolina Raptor Center has been able to rehabilitate and release nearly 1,000 birds per year for over 3 decades, contributing invaluable research to the scientific community and educating the public about the importance of raptor conservation.
My name is Matthias Engelman. I'm the Senior Rehabilitation Coordinator at Carolina Raptor Center, and I've been here for about 31 years. My job involves a little bit of everything, which is what keeps it fun and entertaining. Everything that happens every day, I'll probably have a hand in it.
I'm Dave Scott. I'm a staff veterinarian here at the Carolina Raptor Center. We receive over 1,000 animals a year here, so it's a pretty big job taking them from intake to evaluation and surgery, and rehab, and final release, so it keeps us pretty busy. We try to get a little history if we can. What happened? Did the bird get hit by a car? Did it crash into a building? Was it shot? Whatever. We oftentimes don't get much history at all, though, so we have to just kind of guess. Regardless of what they came in for, we do a full exam. That includes actually examining feeling their entire body, all the bones, palpating everything.
The vast majority of injuries are caused by collisions with structures or activities that involve humans to some extent, which means flying into cars or windows, buildings, fences, traps, power lines, you name it, any kind of structure that we've created. Unfortunately, birds sometimes tend to get injured.
Number 1 cause is hit by car. The number 2 cause, unfortunately, is gunshot. The hit by car, you can understand, it's an accident. Things happen, but gunshot is never an accident. If you own a gun, you need to know what you're shooting at, and birds of prey look very different from any animal that's legally huntable, and so those are never an accident. It's just pure ignorance that allows that to happen.
So after the initial exam, Dr. Scott comes up with a treatment plan for each particular patient based on the type of injuries we see. So that includes fluids, antibiotics, probably pain medications, and also the diet, which is very important. So we will try to move birds outside as soon as possible, as soon as they're able to handle being outdoors. It depends on their injury level. Being outdoors typically encourages them to self-feed, so we don't have to handle them as often and force feed them medication or give them fluids. Just, it's a calmer environment. They hear the normal ambient noises. They go through night and day cycles. So it seems to help them tremendously moving outdoors.
They may go into a small flight cage first, and that could be something as small as a 4x4 cube we call a condo, or it could be something like an 8x16 flight cage, which is just small enough where they can actually jump between perches, but they can't really fly. And then they'll move up and up and up to bigger and bigger cages, and we have them all the way up to 110 feet, 25 feet tall. So it just depends on the species, depends on the injury, but they'll progress through that hopefully.
We are fortunate enough to be able to band many of the birds that we release. So there is an organization called the Bird Banding Lab that issues unique bands to bird banders all over North America. These bands come in a variety of sizes to accommodate different size birds. Something like a screech owl or a kestrel will require a much smaller band than a red-tailed hawk or a great horned owl. And with these unique bands, we're able to track individual birds if they're found again years later.
We don't ban vultures because they're a special case. They're very curious creatures. They're interested in a lot of things and they pick a lot. So they would actually pick at that band with their beak and they can cause horrible wounds underneath them. So they never get banded. But almost every other bird, unless they've proven to not tolerate bands, the temporary band that we put on in rehab, will get banded. And it's nice because we can track them that way. It's not an active tracking device, but if the bird turns up 2 years from now or 3 years from now, it'll have that ID and we can figure out who he was, when we released him, and what his problems were.
So for instance, we've gotten birds recovered as far away as South America, a particular broad-winged hawk that was found 16 days later, released here in the Carolinas and found in South America.
Another key member of the Carolina Raptor Center is Jim Warren.
The biggest part of my role is to make sure everyone else here on the facility has the tools and what they need to be able to make the mission go. If for whatever reason all of our volunteers just walked off tomorrow, we'd have to close the doors. I don't see how we could do what we do without them. I mean, we would struggle and we would be able to do a little bit, but we couldn't succeed without them. Anytime we can take an injured bird, treat it, and get it back in the wild, that's an opportunity to talk about what these birds are, how important they are. The premise is you got to start with the why. And I think so often we want to do the what. And the what is what we do here at Carolina Raptor Center is conservation of raptors, or the how, or the where. But it's the why. What difference does it make? What difference does this organization make in the community? What difference does we as human beings make in our environment? This is the only home we have. This is our Earth. And so raptors are just a piece of how we can learn about the Earth we live in. Now, if I went out and said, I want to teach you about the planet and how cool it is, you'd probably get turned off. But that's, to me, the underlying mission, is that getting people to understand and love this place that we live and let it go from there.
When we do what we do here, it's just a way of giving back and kind of correcting that little wrong that happens every single day. And as they accumulate over time, it becomes a big wrong. And so I feel like we're doing a great thing here.
So the bigger picture is about wildlife conservation and habitat conservation, not just about an individual raptor. Yes, it starts with an individual bird because we try to help them. We broke them in some way, so the least we can do is try to repair them. But it's about much more than that. It's about making it personal. When somebody is involved in the care of a bird, whether it's a volunteer or a member following the progress on a website, or whether the person that found the bird gets to release it eventually, that's just the coolest thing ever. But that's the way that we can get them hooked into conservation in general. Now, what can I do as a citizen at my home, at my work? What can I do to help birds and in turn help myself and my children? Because whatever we do for birds to make this a better planet invariably will help us as well.